Okay, good morning. We will call to order the April 16th Commission meeting. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, good morning, everybody. Just a reminder to sign in. I think I saw everybody do that, but I have to remind you. Let's see. This morning, first thing on the agenda, public comment on any subject that's not on the agenda and under our jurisdiction. Good morning, Mr. Gravely.
Good morning, Madam Chair. TJ Gravely, Public Works Director, GRAVELEY. Real quick comment about canister sites. I've informed you guys that we are short-staffed and going to continue to be short-staffed as school gets out. With no applications coming in, there's a good possibility that some of these sites will be closed or reduced hours, depending on what we get in. We did send out a couple applications this last week, and we're optimistic moving forward that we can keep the hours as is and the business operating as is. I've got about a 2-week window, 2 to 3 week window here where we're trying to get ahead of this. But as you guys know, it's been a real fight trying to move forward and getting people to work for us at the canister sites, just due to the fact that kind of weird hours, I guess, and pays fairly low. So we're looking for anybody over 18, retired, looking for a little extra income, things like that.
Where is the job posted?
Where is it posted?
Mm-hmm. Like where can you see the job description?
It's BCDC, the county website. Where else do I?
At the canister sites.
At the canister sites, we actually got a help wanted sign.
I've never done that before.
Yeah, we just weren't getting any response from anybody, so we figured if people saw it as a help wanted, they would go, oh, maybe if we don't do something, we're going to lose this site. Like I said, I don't want to lose these sites because people have been pretty good for the most part, and I would like to keep running it as is for now. So that's just a little update for you guys. Not having any such luck as of now.
And I don't want to dive into a dark, ugly rabbit hole, but I have a question because I've heard people say this and people have asked me, well, why do we need the site attendance? Why don't we just go back to having nobody there?
Do you want me to go grab a thumb drive and put it up here and show you why we're not going to go back that way?
I know, but if you could summarize it for people.
I'll summarize it really quick, and I'll even clean it up a little bit. People were not doing the right thing, and they were dumping things that should have been charged for. One of the main issues we had oil being left in 5-gallon drums. We won't take oil. We had transmissions thrown on the ground. But I was paying guys to clean up the mattresses, the refrigerators. Jesse may not have seen these pictures, but I'll show you one of these days. It's pretty amazing how people would just take advantage of them. And when they took advantage of them, the county was actually going in the wrong direction as far as making money with solid waste. I don't have to make money, but I have to break even. Be sustainable.
Madam Chair, if I could add to TJ's comment. Also, we had a fair amount, maybe a lot, of out-of-county people.
We did. Mm-hmm. Actually, when we moved the gates and closed the walking cans at Winston, that went away.
Yeah.
That tells me that most of it, not all of it, was out of county. So I commend the people up there for doing the right thing.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any other public comment? You don't even need to sit down.
I'm not going to.
Is there any other public comment? No. Okay. Moving to the first agenda item, discussion decision, TJ Gravely, Public Works Director, Resolution declaring tangible property owned by Broadwater County to be surplus property and authorizing the disposal of that property at public auction.
Good morning again, Commissioners. TJ Gravely, Public Works Director. I'm here presenting surplus equipment that needs to go to auction, that the county no longer has use for or has met its useful life for us. There is 6 pieces of equipment, 3 on the solid waste and 3 on the road. I lumped them together into one resolution. So a resolution declaring tangible personal property owned by Broadwater County to be surplus property and authorizing the disposal of that property. Whereas Broadwater County owns various vehicles and equipment shown in Exhibit A, whereas this property is no longer needed for use at Broadwater County. Whereas it is in the best interest of Broadwater County that the vehicles and equipment be declared surplus property and to be disposed of at public auction. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Broadwater County Commission, Montana, the personal property described above in Exhibit A is declared surplus property. Be it therefore resolved that the vehicles and equipment that are valued less than $2,500 are authorized to be disposed of through a consignment at public auction as allowed by Montana Code 7-8-2217. Be it further resolved that the vehicles and equipment that are valued more than $2,500, the sale will be at public auction as required by Montana Code 7-8-2212. If no bids are offered, offer is made, Broadwater County may sell the property in a private sale as allowed through Montana Code 7-8-2218. Be it further resolved, since the vehicles and equipment will be sold at public auction, a notice will be given according to Montana Code annotated 7-1-2121. When your equipment, so what you're getting rid of is you're getting rid of the old service truck, the old Ford service truck. You're getting rid of the 1989 Kenworth hook truck and the 1995 Kenworth tractor truck. And an 88 Pete. The 88 Pete was a truck that is going to be used as salvage, and it will be actually left here for people to look at. Since it was wrecked, I did have people interested in looking at the truck, but when Chief Deputy County Attorney Minor said I couldn't sell it that way, it had to go to surplus. Okay. The other one is kind of going into our next resolution to be presented is the Chevy snowplow and the GMC half-ton pickup.
Okay. Thank you. I did not have any questions on this. Any of you have questions, comments?
Lindsay, you can have this one.
Thank you.
I don't have any questions.
I don't either.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I would move to approve the resolution declaring tangible personal property owned by Broadwater County to be surplus property and authorizing the disposal of that property.
I will second that.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to approve the resolution declaring tangible property owned by Broadwater County to be surplus property and authorizing the disposal of that property. Is there any public comment? Any public comments?
Lindsay, can I make a comment?
Yes, please.
The 85 snowplow that is on there is actually on your next item, but that is contingent that they don't take, the airport doesn't take that. So we'll leave it on there for right now, thinking we're not sure what's going to happen with the airport. It's been offered to the airport.
Okay. Okay.
One way or another, it's leaving the roadshow.
Okay. Is there any other public comment? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you, TJ. I will sign this one for you.
With that being said, Lindsay, I'll have those registrations in your office probably today or tomorrow for you to sign.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Next item is discussion. Discussion only. TJ Gravely, Public Works Director, a resolution of intent to transfer property between certain government entities.
So as I said just a second ago, this is just a formality. If the airport decides to go ahead and do this, they go ahead and take this piece of equipment. This is already in place. Their airport board meeting is tonight, and they're going to make a decision one way or another. So if they do decide to take it, we've got it done. If they don't, we've got the other side done as well.
Okay.
Resolution of intent to transfer property between certain government entities. Whereas Section 7-8-2211 MCA authorizes the Board of County Commissioners to sell, trade, or exchange any real or personal property, however acquired, belonging to the county that is not necessary to conduct of county business or the preservation of its property. And whereas Section 7-8-101 MCA authorizes the sale or trade of property to any city, town, or political subdivision as the interests of its inhabitants require, that is not necessary for the conduct of the county business without an ordinance, public notice, public auction, bids, or appraisal. Whereas the county property described is attached on the attached list has been determined by the Board of Commissioners at an open public meeting held April 16, 2025 to be necessary to conduct the county business or for the preservation of its property. And whereas the property listed on the attached list reasonable has a value of $3,500 as indicated therein. And whereas the Broadwater County Airport has interest in the purchase of the property listed on the attached list for the benefit of its inhabitants, whereas any public comment or protest to the proposed exchange shall be addressed in writing to the Broadwater County Public Works Office, 515 Broadway, Townsend, Montana, 59644, prior to April 30th, 2025 at 4 o'clock local time. Now therefore it be resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Broadwater County that it does hereby establish the intention to declare the property surplus and sell the property to the Broadwater County Airport, Townsend, Montana for $3,500. Be it further resolved that the Board of County Commissioners of Broadwater County that at a public meeting to hear the comments or protest of the intent to transfer property between Broadwater County and the Broadwater Airport, Townsend, will be held April 30th, 2025 at 10 o'clock a.m. at the Flynn Building, 416 Broadway, Townsend. Your exhibit is on Exhibit A, 1985 GMC Chevy Top Kick. My guess is this is just going to be a real formality until we hear more tonight. And you guys will be the first to know as soon as, if they decide to take it, great. If not, great. We're good either way.
Okay. I did not have questions on this one either. Okay. Is there a motion?
It's just for discussion.
Oh, that's right.
This is discussion.
Thank you.
just get to
you
talk
have to
so
give me-
excited about voting
No.
like
Over
motion.
and over.
Give me 2 weeks.
It's so not fun. God. I do have, okay.
And it is, just to be clear, excuse me, it is on the airport agenda for discussion and decision tonight, so they will decide.
Correct.
Perfect. All right, well, thank you.
All right, thanks.
All right.
Madam Chair,
Lindsay, make sure you keep
recusing for the next
that
item.
one copy
Okay.
with you.
I have it right here. Do you want the
Nope.
hard? No, I've got it right here. Too many files. All right. Next up on the agenda, discussion decision, Nicole Brown, Community Development and Planning Director. Counts Hay and Cattle Miners Subdivision, Preliminary Plat Request, Section 9, Township 7 North, Range 3 East.
Good morning, Commissioners. Nicole Brown, Broadwater County Community Development Director and Planner. This is a continuation of our meeting from 2 weeks ago for the Counts Hay and Cattle Miners Subdivision Preliminary Plat Request. For your recollection, as well as the public's, there were 3 variance requests before this commission. It is required that the variance that the variances be voted on prior to making the vote for preliminary plat approval with conditions, or denial. This commission body voted to approve one of the variances. That variance, was for a lot being bisected by a road or street. So you have 2 variances still before you for your discussion and decision. I want to remind this commission you are not obligated to make a decision today. The deadline for this governing body to take action is April 28th, 2025, which means you still have next week to keep this on the agenda. Should you have further follow-up questions, the surveyor is here today, as well as the owners and developers of the property. So with that, Madam Chair, I will not be reading my findings of fact in order into the record, but I would like to read the variance requests, if I may, again, for your benefit and the public.
Because we did findings of fact in order last time.
That is correct. Yes, ma'am. So let me locate them in the binder, and I will draw your attention to that section as well once I get there. So tab 33, under your preliminary plat application. There are 3 variance requests in this section. Again, the first one in your binder, is for the lot being bisected by Big Country Drive. That that variance was approved by this commission. The second variance request, and I'm going to read it into the record because I think, again, it's important. So this variance request is for a proposed road plan variance request. To whom it may concern, and this letter is from Tessa Counts. To whom it may concern, this letter is our formal request for a variance to Broadwater County subdivision road requirements adopted on September 9th, 2024, disallowance for shared driveways. To access our property, we use Radcliffe Trail, previously Ahern Way. This is an existing utility easement established to provide service to a residence on the north side of our property. This road has been in existence for nearly 2 decades. From our property boundary on the southeast side to the entrance of our property is no more than 1/8 of a mile. There would be no significant benefit or safety concern to this homeowner if we were to make improvements to this section of the road. The road is constructed of lime fines and gravel. We have verbally committed to this homeowner we will assist in ensuring the road is continually maintained to its current standards. While the address assigned to our property is 6 Big Country Drive, access to our property is made from Radcliffe Trail. Ultimately, the approval of this application will reduce the amount of travel we currently impose on this road. We are currently traveling a minimum of 3 times daily up Ray Creek and Radcliffe Way to care for our livestock. If we were able to reside on this property, this would be drastically reduced. Please see attached preliminary plat to view the section of road we understand to be impacted by this variance request. Thank you, Tessa Counts. So following this variance, or this letter, you do have a copy of the preliminary plat, or proposed preliminary plat. I believe that section of shared driveway is highlighted in pink, at least it is in my binder, so I'm going to believe it is in yours as well.
Okay. All right.
And so, Commissioner, sorry, Madam Chair, may I continue?
Yes, please.
One more item. If I can draw your attention to page 8 of your findings of fact and order report. This is the section of the findings of fact and order report, identifying that variance request. This variance request is from subdivision regulations section 5H as in Henry. That section of the subdivision regulation states, roads accessing, abutting, or serving two or more parcels or dwellings are considered roads. So that is the section of the regulations the Mr. and Mrs. Counts are requesting a variance from, section 5H of the Broadwater County subdivision regulations. Madam Chair, may I ask a question of Daly?
Yeah, please.
Mrs. Hanson, is it terribly difficult for you to access Montana Cadastral and share it on this screen? If it is, I will
I'll do that.
not make the ask. But
Thank you. It's like you were reading my mind.
I don't want to be in your head.
No, you don't.
I'm sorry. And if I may, I can direct you to that location on the map once you have it pulled up. And I am definitely putting her on the spot here, so.
Which one? Next one. Our technical professional, Commissioner Randolph,
far
is
from that.
helping
I
her.
just am on cadastral occasionally.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, no Excuse me.
So what is being identified here on the screen, I believe the public is able to view this as well, depending on the camera angle being sent through YouTube. However, this parcel that you see outlined in dark blue, this is the property in question. This is the proposed Counts Hay and Cattle minor subdivision, nothing being divided, simply lifting an agricultural restriction. So the, we need to have mobile microphones. I don't. Radcliffe Trail is.
I think if you talk loudly.
I'm going to do
you're
my
gonna
best
be
to
okay.
talk really, really
You almost
loud
need a
because I
little
think this
laser
is super
pointer.
important. So this here is South Fork Ray Creek Road. I just can't see it. Where way to see? No, but can you blow it here. Radcliffe Trail begins here and ends at this location. So at the southeast corner of the proposed subdivision. Mr. Radcliffe actually resides on this parcel here. So its driveway from this portion,
Is that too much?
a little too much.
Whoops. I think you can close the side, little side
Close the
panels.
sides.
Yeah, like those little blue arrows that go in on the side. Yeah,
Here?
yeah. And then it'll
Perfect.
expand that for you.
Perfect. And would you mind clicking this button, Daleen, to turn on aerial photography? Sure. Thank you very much. Okay. So this is very clearly showing where the counts intend to build their structures. Is that correct? Okay. In this location here. Radcliffe Trail ends at this location here. It is driveway from here all the way north to Mr. Radcliffe's home at the end of the driveway. So what Mr. and Mrs. Counts are requesting is shared driveway from this point to this point where they would branch off of the driveway to access their 2 additional residences. So from here to here would be shared driveway for 3. It's important to show that because I think if we're looking at these parcels, these are large parcels. The opportunity for development or additional homes being added, it's possible. I don't want to say it's a great possibility, and I know Mr. and Mrs. Counts have said they do not intend to develop any further. They don't plan to add any homes. From a planning perspective, we have to look at long-term planning, right? Like none of us will be owning our property as it is forever and ever and ever, and it will not stay this way forever and ever. I'm not trying to look into this crystal ball to say that this could happen, but there is a possibility that it could happen given the acreage of both of the properties. That there is a possibility that additional homes could be added to the Counts property or additional homes added to the Mr. Radcliffe's property, even without going through subdivision. So to switch from my role as planner to GIS administrator and addressing, it does make it very difficult to squeeze in, for lack of a better word, additional addresses at that location. So just to give you a very brief explanation of how addressing is done, addressing is based on a distance traveled down the road. So that Radcliffe Trail is 0.15 miles long.
Can you point it out on there while
Absolutely.
you're talking about it? Thank you.
So Radcliffe Trail from here to here is 0.15 miles long, which would say that any address coming off of Radcliffe Trail at this location would be 15. Now, if we're adding additional addresses, it makes it challenging to squeeze in additional addresses. It could be possible to do, say, a 13 and maybe an 11, and I'm speculating here, but then that would make it erroneous for 911 purposes. Now, I'm not a first responder. Bless those of you in this community that are first responders. You have all my admiration. But they rely on me to create responsible addressing. So as they're driving down the road in an emergency, and say let's say that there was this address of 11, which would be 0.11 miles down the road on the left-hand side. Odds are on the left, evens are on the right. So they would get to that location on their map, or as they're driving and watching their odometer, and there would not be a house there because the house would be beyond the 15. And I realize this is probably not making sense to a lot of you, and I apologize that I can't think of a more eloquent way to explain this, because it makes sense in my head that, again, if you're driving that distance down the road, you would expect the residents to be at that location. So if they have to actually travel 0.15 miles down the road, get to a driveway, and then find, say, an 11 or a 13, that could be minutes. Minutes matter if someone's having a heart attack or a critical life event. Obviously, if there's a fire, they're going to see smoke. It's not those incidents that I'm as concerned about, which I am very concerned about. Don't get me wrong, from the 911 side of it and the addressing side of it. But it's more the event where there's not a tell, if you will, an external tell that someone is in distress at this location and you need to continue driving. So my thought on this potential mitigation for Mr. and Mrs. Counts was to keep their driveway off of Big Country Drive. And I'm going to approach the map one more time, Commissioners. So currently, I have an address of 6 Big Country Drive for this parcel, and it comes off at about this location here. And now I believe it wraps around and comes to the house, but the address is at this point. So my thought was potential mitigation for responsible addressing for emergency purposes, and to lend credence, if you will, to this variance request would be to have an approach here and here. So for the 2 structures coming in at this location, but at 2 separate approaches off of Big Country Drive. And I realize they don't want to drive through their field. Obviously, if they're utilizing that field for hay production, I get that. But then to kind of come around and access their home that way.
If they were to do that, they're still doing road work, right? Like it's road work one way or the other. But you're not bringing that. In fact, that wouldn't be. You're saying because there's going to be 2 addresses at the location, there'd have to be 2 roads. Or at least I don't know. So either way, you're building road. Maybe not to a 60-foot county standard, but either way, you're building road. Right.
Madam Chair, can I respond to that?
Please.
My thought on this, and again, I have not made this thought aware, or I've not made this my considerations aware to Mr. and Mrs. Counts. But no, they wouldn't need to build it to a road if they weren't sharing. So if there were 2 approaches off of Big Country Drive, right? The problem that we're having. The situation we're in, our regulations allow for 1 driveway per structure. They're adding 2 structures, which means 2 driveways, or we're back to variance and we're back to building roads, so then they might as well just keep their variance for Radcliffe Trail and or build Radcliffe Trail, right? So those are some considerations to consider, or for this board to consider. Mm-hmm. But can I
yes,
turn
please.
it over to Tess to speak to this?
No, I'm sorry. What were you going to say? Okay.
Tessa Counts, owner of potential counts hand cattle, I just would like to throw into record that for your guys' edification, I don't know if you've been up to visualize the property, but as it stands right now, not that this should influence your decision at all, but we've already installed elaborate fencing in this area, which can obviously be removed if required by the commission. But if you're to travel up Radcliffe Trail and you see this loop here, there are 2 entrances constructed out of metal fencing with archways that we are more than willing to elaborately mark with the appropriate addresses there. So there is already established a very large and physical entrance here and large and physical entrance here where we could put very reflective, very noted marks there. But the shortness of this road, for lack of better words, I guess is no fault of ours, but we are willing to work with notifying you guys or marking those so that first responders can get there more efficient.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Brown.
So really, Madam Chair, Commissioner Randolph, the whole purpose for this driveway serving no more than one structure in our regulation, in our subdivision regulations, the whole purpose for that is for emergency purposes and appropriate and responsible addressing. So while I'm not sure where you could put that in as a condition of approval of, excessive appropriate address marking. I would have to look at the code. I don't believe there's anything in our regulations that would allow you to make that condition of approval. Because again, every condition of approval has to be, we have to point it back to somewhere in the regulations, right? You can't make a condition of approval simply because it seems appropriate. And even though it's being offered by the developer, I'm not certain how you would list that condition of approval. So I'm not prepared to give you any guidance on that. And obviously with lack of legal guidance here, I don't think that would be responsible for me to wing it.
Okay.
But I do understand what Mrs. Counts is saying, that that really that would mitigate the dilemma of addressing.
Yeah. I'm kind of back and forth on this one, personally. Just because I know we have a standard countywide that we're trying to keep in place to have our roads done correctly. And because of the addressing, and I think you just don't know what's going to happen. Like something else, maybe the neighbor up top subdivides at some point, and then you've got more traffic, and you're changing the addressing, and you can't plan everything perfectly for the future. But I think I'm just going back and forth with what our standards are and why we have those, and there was a purpose for that, and I think that that's best practice. I believe, is that best practice, I guess, for other counties? What are other counties doing with their addressing that way? Do you know?
Madam Chair, no, I am not prepared to speak on that, on what counties specifically are doing. I know I have read other county subdivision regulations, but without having documented evidence of that, no, I don't want to speak to what they're doing. I can tell you I have read some, and I'm not going to tell you which one because, again, I don't recall, that do state one driveway per residence. I have read some where driveways aren't even mentioned, or the number of structures, that are being accessed by that driveway aren't even mentioned. So it really is, between the 56 counties, I do think it's, slightly different in every county. 56 counties in Montana.
Of course, like everything else.
Right.
We do, yeah.
Yeah, and it is in our regulations, specifically for that, for the purpose of emergency services, but also for the construction of the road to make sure that these roads are built to a standard that allow for, obviously, the ease of the future, for the current and or future homeowners.
I kind of look at it, and Commissioner Randolph, I'll be quiet in a minute so you have a chance to chime in, but I guess I look at it like if the person or properties, whoever, above a road, and this is, again, I'm weighing all this, they subdivide. And then we have said, no, you don't have to bring the road up. And now these guys have subdivided, and there's more traffic. And then we're like, well, now you guys have to bring the road up or make that driveway better. And then they're going to say, well, why do we have to do it if they didn't have to do it? I think, so that's where I'm hung up on it. But I'm still weighing all of it. Commissioner Randolph, what do you?
I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
For Director Brown. I have a problem, and I know y'all have heard me say this before. I always have a problem with a verbal commitment between neighbors. Nothing that we can address now, but I think we've all seen it go wrong. You know, and in the notes, there's a verbal agreement between Radcliffe's and Counts. So that's bothersome to me. But it works until it doesn't. On one of the maps I looked at over the last couple of weeks, I believe I saw I don't know how to say it, an unused address on Big Sky Drive. Is that could that be one of the access points for the Counts? And how did that address come about?
Certainly. Madam Chair, can I respond to that?
Oh, yes, please. Sorry. I was like, who's Madam Chair for a minute? Sorry. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Sorry.
So yes, Commissioner Randolph, you are correct. There is an address on this parcel of 6 Big Country Drive. But as Mrs. Counts alluded to, that there's fencing there that prohibits them from utilizing that. But to approach the map again, I'll show you where that comes in at. So 6 Big Country Drive on my 911 GIS map is at this location here. So so where my finger is right here, there's a point of 6 Big Country Drive, and which I should also state, not just on the 911 map, but also on the voting map in the clerk and recorder's office. That address, or that parcel, is addressed with 6 Big Country Drive at that location. That address was requested by the previous owners of this parcel to have that be their approach, their location. They did not need an approach permit. It's not a county road, but that is where they requested the address be placed for that parcel. But as Mrs. Counts alluded to, with the fencing there, it doesn't work for them to come in at that location and then loop around through the fencing.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Is it their fencing? Yes. Okay. If they have one lot, this is one lot, right? We'll have 2 homes on the one lot. They're not 2 separate lots.
Yes, ma'am.
Are both homes using one address?
Madam Chair, there are no homes there currently, so it's only the parcel that's using that. So if a new structure any new structures to be constructed prior to receiving their septic permit application, they would have to have a separate address for it, also for power. So there would be a separate address that would be issued for the parcel. Also, if they wanted to move the location of that address or not utilize 6 Big Country Drive, they would have to reapply for an address.
Okay, so if there is more than one structure on the one lot, they have to have an address for each structure?
That is correct, according to our septic permit regulations and obviously for power and mail delivery.
Okay. Thank you.
And voting.
And voting. Okay.
Another question for Director Brown. Am I correct that we don't have any regulations on construction or quality or of driveways? It could be a cart path.
Madam Chair, may I respond?
Oh, yes, please. Gosh, sorry, I'm writing and
That's okay.
I'm trying to
yes, I'm sorry.
write my notes down. Sorry.
Yeah, Commissioner Randolph, yes, that is correct. There is no standard for the construction of a driveway. I mean, they could drive through the field and call it a driveway. But we have no standard for the construction of a driveway. We do have standard for the construction of a subdivision road, which is what this would be should the variance not be granted. Right. And I want to clarify that the road construction would only be from the end of Radcliffe Trail, so at that 0.15 portion, up to the point where the Counts structures would branch off of the road, or where it would end, and likely end in a cul-de-sac for the appropriate turnaround for emergency vehicles, which is approximately 0.1 miles, so 1/10 of a mile.
0.1.
Mm-hmm. And that is according to our subdivision regulations, because a traffic impact study and improvements on the road are not required if your traffic is, I don't know the number, but clearly the amount of traffic that this subdivision will be creating, 16 vehicle trips per day, is less than what we require for the improvement of the existing portion of Radcliffe Trail, if that makes sense. It would only be the extension of Radcliffe Trail.
our deadline on this is?
Madam Chair, April 28th.
28th,
Madam Chair, I have another
please.
creative question for you.
Yeah,
I just called you Dr. Brown, just so you know.
Aw, bless
Director,
you didn't get increased pay with that.
you're right,
Just
right.
so you know.
You. Dang it.
Would it be a solution to have off Radcliffe Drive where they want to have the homes, one access point, access to Radcliffe, and then it splits off to each home? That doesn't solve anything, does it?
It's the same.
Do you know what I'm trying to,
No, ma'am, I'm sorry. I'm not envisioning.
to Radcliffe, like where they want to put it?
Okay.
Have one access to Radcliffe. I hadn't thought of this till 2 seconds ago, so, and then one house road driveway to the left, one house driveway to the right, but that would still be an address issue. Do you see what I'm trying to find a solution?
That's
Yes.
what I was thinking. So too. I was thinking the same thing, but yeah, it's
Madam Chair, if I may respond,
Please.
that is not necessarily a solution because the problem, and I hate to keep using that word, the situation we're faced with is the improvement of Radcliffe Trail or the shared driveway for 3
Yeah.
from here to here. So if what you're saying is they would branch off in different directions here, that still doesn't
I know.
solve this
I get it.
portion of our concern or your consideration
Yeah.
or what you're considering today for the variance request. That doesn't mitigate that because we still have that 1/10 of a mile
One.
extension of Radcliffe Trail before it branched off to their structures. Does that answer your
Yes, it
question?
does. Thank you for my crazy question.
it's not crazy. It's but that's why we're talking about it right now because we're
Correct.
just trying to ask questions and brainstorm ideas. Yeah, that what I've explained so far is really what I'm personally weighing when I think about this. Did you have any other
No, I don't right now.
thoughts on this one? I think Ms. Counts would like to make a comment. Please do.
Yeah, Tessa counts. 2 things actually, just for a little bit further clarification to your guys' understanding. For the home sites that we're proposing, there's one entrance here. The first home would sit between the 2 entrances. The second home is a proposed barn, and it'll set past the second entrance. So there essentially is a dedicated entrance to this first home. The second entrance is dedicated to the second potential home. It's my first comment, just for clarification. And then after further understanding Commissioner Randolph's statement about the robustness of a said driveway, we would find it amendable to change to Big Country Drive if necessary, and put in additional gates that could access from the lower road as well.
Okay. I have another question for Director Brown. Thank you. Should they use Big Country Drive as their addressing point? We're still dealing with the 2 home sites. So would there have to be 2, because then you have the driveway, right? So it's 1 driveway. So are they putting in 2 driveways? I guess what would need to happen in order to, if they use the Big Country Drive?
Madam Chair, so I believe a potential solution there, you would still consider the variance request as a shared driveway for 2. So that could be potential mitigation. If they did utilize that Big Country Drive access and keep their address of 6, they would then have a shared driveway for 2, but it would be totally on their property, if that makes sense. So I think
Yeah.
I think the biggest concern or consideration before you commissioners is that it's a shared driveway for 3, where one individual who is not a part of this subdivision is already utilizing this as a driveway, and then this subdivision is requesting to add 2 more homes to that shared driveway. And I realize the difference between 2 and 3 is not huge,
Sure.
but if it's 3, why not 4? If it's 4,
Right.
why not 7? Where do you stop
Right.
that shared driveway use? If you can confine it to being shared driveway for this parcel only, and I think then it mitigates your concern, Madam Chairwoman, excuse me, that what if, right? I mean, because we do have to what if in the planning world. I mean, I'm constantly what ifing, trying to problem solve and find solutions for these. Mr. Radcliffe either decides to subdivide or sell and somebody subdivides. How do you walk that back then and say, well, now that you're
Right.
putting in an additional home, you have to build the road? That makes it a very slippery slope for this commission or any commission in the future to walk that back and put the onus on the next developer. However, if you can confine that shared driveway to this subdivision and this parcel only, I think that is potential mitigation. I mean, you still have to consider the variance request,
Right.
of course, because
Right.
it would be a shared driveway for two. But then you're considering a variance request for a shared driveway for two only on this subdivision parcel.
Correct. And
That's where I was going.
I had my question and it kind of flew, but I might think of it
I talked
again.
too much, I'm
It's-
sorry.
No, it's fine. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. That's very relevant, and I would see that as a solution in my mind. It would make sense. I would say they would be responsible then in the case if you have, your variance is granted, they have two home sites off of a shared driveway on their one personally owned lot. There's nothing else that this is going to. It's not, like you said, there's not someone above, below. It would be on them to clearly mark which house is which, address-wise.
That is correct.
Yeah.
And Madam Chair, if I may, to lend credence also to Commissioner Randolph's concern about driveway agreements or verbal agreements, right? This is a verbal agreement that they will work out all on
I
their
know.
own
You're
between family members on this parcel. The county is not being held to, what do I want to say, require any
Okay.
driveway maintenance agreement. That's something they will work out on their own because it's for their own benefit. It's not for the benefit of anyone external to this subdivision.
Okay. Thank you. This is why we got to talk through this, because that makes good sense to me. Commissioner Randolph, did you have any
I don't.
thoughts on that? Would you feel comfortable voting on this particular variance request based on what we discussed today, or do you want to wait and do a little more research on this one?
I guess I'd rather wait.
You'd rather wait?
A lot of things came up today that
Okay.
I hadn't. Some things I thought of and researched, and some I didn't. That would be my preference.
Okay.
And I hate to do that, but I'd rather get it right
Yeah, for sure.
than rush.
Okay. Thank you for talking through it. Thank you for your thoughts. We'll hold off on this one. We'll hold off on voting, excuse me.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Do you think this would be an appropriate time to move on to the third variance request?
Yes, let me write my notes though before, because I clearly can't talk, reply to you while I
I will
write something down.
respect your time.
Give me just a second. All right. Okay, yes, let's move on to variance 3, please.
All right, Commissioners, if I could maintain your attention in item number 33, of your preliminary plat approval, or preliminary plat application. Jeez. So under tab 33, and I'm going to read the third variance request. This is from Tessa Counts to the Broadwater County Commissioners, or Broadwater County rather. This is regarding fire prevention requirements variance request. To whom it may concern, this letter is our formal request for a variance to Broadwater County subdivision fire protection requirements adopted on September 9th, 2024. Because it is not our intention to subdivide the property in the traditional understanding of the term, we commit to the installation of a fire sprinkler system in any building constructed on our property that may be used for residential purposes. Additionally, we do not intend to subdivide this property while in our ownership. However, we fully intend to comply with the needs of EMS in the event there is a fire on or near our property. We will not impede the efforts being put forth to maintain our safety and the safety of other Broadwater County residents. Thank you, Tessa Counts. So following this variance request letter is a copy of the fire plan. This fire plan was dated November 11th, 2024. It was signed and approved by the Broadwater County Rural Fire Department Chief Ed Schindel on November 11th, 2024. Mr. Schindel's comments state, Broadwater Rural Fire District will accept this subdivision with all residential structures built with fire sprinkler systems installed. Which I do want to point out is not a requirement nor a consideration in our Broadwater County subdivision regulations. If I can also, or again, direct your attention to the findings of fact and order report, specifically page 9. I'm going to read into the record it's only this section of the findings of fact and order report that pertains to this variance. The third variance request is from Subdivision Regulations Section 5R, which states a water supply of sufficient volume for effective fire control must be provided within the subdivision. The developer's reasoning for requesting this variance is due to the fact that they do not intend to further develop this property while in their ownership. They have stated that they intend to install a fire sprinkler system in any building constructed on the property that may be used for residential purposes. However, since Broadwater County does not have a building inspector, there would be no way to verify nor require the installation of fire sprinkler systems. Should the governing body decide to grant this variance, the developers should be made aware that this is a risk they are taking in terms of fire protection and personal safety.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if I may
Yes,
read
please.
from that section of our subdivision regulations, it's okay if you don't have it in front of you. This is a brief 2 sentences in our regulations that I'm going to read into the record. This is on page 81 of our Broadwater County subdivision regulations, section 5Q, fire protection. A fire plan will be created with the Fire Protection Authority, the FPA, with jurisdiction for the area in which the subdivision is located. The applicant will work with the FPA on that fire protection plan, and the fire plan will take into account that there is a water supply with sufficient volume for effective fire control. This is taken from section 76.35011I of MCA.
All right, thank you. I've been reading and asking questions and working on this, and I guess you know what, Commissioner Randolph, do you wanna lead with any comments?
No, you're the chair.
Okay. Oh,
Right
thank
ahead.
you. Okay, that's great. Thank you. So appreciated.
I've done it twice.
Okay. I have lots of hangups. This regulation for our fire was done in September, correct?
Madam Chair, that is correct, September 9th, 2024.
Okay. And this is the first subdivision we've had come through since that time, correct?
Madam Chair, that is correct.
Okay. Personally, as we're working through this process, I kind of look back and say our intention was really good, and somewhat following suit with what a lot of other counties are doing. But my first issue is that, and I appreciate the due diligence of everyone looking into sprinklers. We have no way to enforce that. We don't have building inspectors. We don't have that here. So to me, the sprinklers are not a solution. Additionally, I don't know that I've ever seen a residence with sprinklers. Okay, just to be fair, ever. Office buildings, commercial space, yes. So for me personally, I can't, I'm hung up on this because I think first off, I want to go back with our regs, and I don't think, I think we made an oversight. And I personally don't mind walking back a little bit, the decision on this for a minor, especially a single lot. I see in my mind, I see the need for our regulations the way we wrote them. And I realize this is two separate issues. We've got regulations, and then we've got what you guys are asking for, the variance-wise. I'm wondering if that would even be necessary, if we come to kind of the root of the problem, which, and I say, again, problem, it's a nasty word, the root of the challenge here. And because I've been considering like what makes sense, because they're not going to be, Counts subdivision will not be the last one that comes to us that we're going to run into this problem with. So I guess I'm hung up on that because I think it's a huge burden. It's an undue burden, and possibly a little unrealistic to expect a single family or minor subdivision to put in place these regulations. And again, I'm trying to go to the root of the problem. That's kind of where what I've come to. Would anyone else like to jump in? Please.
Yeah, no, you
okay.
Absolutely hit on almost all my bullet points. When anybody does the regulations, then you put it into action. You go, oops, that's not really going to work. It works on paper, looks good. The other problem, besides the ones that Commissioner Rittmeyer, we don't have, well, she did say, we don't have building permits, we don't have a building inspector. I've never seen sprinklers in a house, not that it doesn't happen, I'm sure it does somewhere. But also, I actually did drive up there last weekend. I think I saw you out in the field working. The other issue is the location. Sprinklers, if there's a fire up there, it may help the house. It's not going to do anything to the hayfield or the neighbors. It's not going to reduce that fire danger, or their barns or the other house. So that was a real, that's a real concern of mine. Just the sprinklers are not going to solve the problem if there is a fire up there. So I agree with you.
Yeah, I appreciate that as inevitably, let's just say, development is going to happen. And as that happens, we've got more and more homes in places without like a public water source, right? Like without a municipal water source, which was kind of the intention behind this. Like, where are they going to get water? And if you are in an area where you've got multiple homes and you might burn your neighbor's home down, that's a problem. But again, I kind of want to walk back again to the root of the regulations. So I would love to hear your thoughts, please, Director Brown.
Madam Chair, yes, absolutely. I've given this some consideration as well, even through the initial submittal of the Counts Hay and Cattle preliminary plat, that this section of our regulations is quite cost prohibitive. And while we in this county of electeds and staff are tasked with maintaining the responsible, to the best of our ability, responsible growth, and doing the best we can to ensure public health and safety, along with many more duties, but for the purpose of this conversation. So I have given this some thought, and I have a consideration, or a suggestion that I would like you to consider that is relevant to this topic, but it will be slightly off topic for a minute until I come back around. And that is for this commission to consider amending our subdivision regulations, specifically section 5Q, Q as in Queen, that very last sentence that states, and I'm going to read it again, the applicant will work with the FPA, which is the Fire Protection Authority, on that fire protection plan, and the fire plan will take into account that there is a water supply with sufficient volume for effective fire control. I would like to add to the end of that sentence, comma, for majors only. And I'm not asking you, of course, to make a decision on this. I'm simply asking for permission to bring this forward to a public hearing. So to amend these subdivision regulations requires a public hearing in front of the governing body, noticed not less than 15 days and not more than 30 days from the date of public hearing. So with that, I would like this commission, and you can't vote on it, of course, but just, to acknowledge that I will be bringing forward this request at a public hearing, and at that public hearing you will be making, potentially, I shouldn't say you will be making, you could potentially make a decision to amend the subdivision regulations. Now to come back around to how does that affect the Counts Hay and Cattle subdivision application. So the Counts Hay and Cattle subdivision application was submitted under the September 9th, or let's just say September 2024 Broadwater County subdivision regulations. So there would be no requirement nor ability for them to adhere to any amendments to the regulations. So if indeed this amendment were granted, and again, I'm not asking for any decision from this governing body, I'm simply talking this through for your consideration, the public's. If this commission, this governing body, were to amend these subdivision regulations, that doesn't necessarily mean that Counts Hay and Cattle could rescind their variance request, because they would still be under the September 2024 regulations. However, I can envision a scenario where it might lend some credence to the governing body granting that variance based on the fact that you have amended your regulations because you have identified a flaw in our existing regulations. And the flaw being that this is very cost prohibitive for a one-lot minor, and even a one-lot minor subdivision, or even a minor subdivision, which is why my request for this water supply being put in place for majors only. That's not to say that I'm looking to amend the regulations that a fire plan would not be done for minor subdivisions. Simply the water supply, the water protection aspect of the regulations would not apply, and that section is 5R as in Roger. Those are really great regulations. They're really great things to consider. But when you pencil it out and look at the dollars of what it would cost to do this for a single lot or even a minor subdivision, it is cost prohibitive. So you really have to consider the public health and safety aspect versus where's the government overreach, I guess, for lack of a better word, to where we're saying that this one lot minor has to put in potentially a $100,000 to $200,000 water protection facility.
I think, to interrupt you. I think the way the MCA requires the variance request to come in during the process is part of the issue too, because you're putting all this, like you have to go in before we ever are able to grant a variance. It's not like we can do it at the beginning of the process and say, oh, the plans look great, we'll grant the variance, now go forth and prosper. It's like, no, we have to wait, they have to put in the time, the plans, all of it, and hope that that variance is granted, which, that's not us, that's an MCA thing. So just honestly, but that process being what it is, in conjunction with just the realization of the cost of something like this and the reality for most people. I mean, we're sitting here talking about affordable homes and housing, the need for affordable housing and homes and land and property, and something we're lacking, and to make it even harder for people, especially one family, or a couple, minor, as you're saying, which is five, right? Five folks. Okay. So that's significant. That's significant, and that will drive up cost considerably across the board.
Madam Chair, you're absolutely correct. Outside of this commission meeting, but each of us, everyone in this room, I would feel comfortable saying, has sat in on some type of conversation, either formal or informal conversation, talking about the affordability crisis that we're experiencing in Broadwater County, likely Montana as well, but we're looking more on a local level than a global level. And then we're adding regulations that make it more cost prohibitive. And so while it does give the appearance that I am making this request to amend the regulations based on this subdivision, I want to be very clear. I'm requesting to amend the regulations based on the reality that this subdivision has brought forward, that this is extremely cost prohibitive. So
I would agree with that statement. It's you don't know it until you're in it and doing it. This is the first one. We haven't had another one since the change in the regs. And looking around, just doing some more research. I mean, I think it's very valid. So
yes, ma'am. And yes, Madam Chair, if I may, I think that being that this is the first subdivision that has been presented with these new regulations, also the fact that it's a one-lot minor subdivision that's being held to the same standard as a major subdivision, which could be 500, 800, 1,000 lots. There's some disparity there that I think we can correct. And I'm not saying that this is going to be the perfect fit. We don't know until we start using it, and to determine if it fits or not. But it's something I would like to consider, and I would like this board to consider moving forward. So again, not looking for your vote. I will be bringing this forward at a duly noticed public hearing before this commission. At that time, obviously, you'll have it on your agenda to make the discussion and decision. So.
Commissioner Randolph, yeah, please. I was just going to ask if you had something.
I think wherever in the county the first minor subdivision came to us, we would have had this a revelation as we went through it. Oh, wait. Doesn't make sense. I do have one question for you. This does not, if the regulations are amended, does not have to go back to the planning board, correct?
Madam Chair, may I respond?
Please.
No,
Okay.
Commissioner Randolph, it does not. Amendments to the regulations go before the governing body only.
Thank you.
Yes. Can I also speak to the timeline of the counts, hay, and cattle? Because clearly, statutorily, you commissioners are required to make a decision on the counts, hay, and cattle preliminary plat application by April 28th, which means you have next Wednesday unless you hold a special meeting. But I do want to state that absolutely does not give me enough time to get it to the newspaper for posting for a public hearing to meet that 15-day, and it's just 15 calendar days, it's not 15 working days, 15 calendar day notice. So I would like to make a request to Mr. and Mrs. Counts to, if they would like to consider this avenue, and I'm putting you on the spot, so I don't expect her to anticipate, I don't anticipate an answer from her today. We still can have this on the agenda for next Wednesday. But I would like to put a request forward that potentially they request a 20 working day extension from the governing body for your decision to allow this amendment to the regulations to potentially occur. I'm not trying to preempt anyone's decision. And that's not to say that they will definitely, the regulations will be amended and they will not definitely get a yes on the variance. I just think it gets us a little bit more of a clear path moving forward. Because we're not trying to prolong this preliminary plat application. We're just noticing the disparities in our regulations between a workable solution for folks wanting to move forward with subdivision application.
Yes, I would agree. You moved back up. Would you like to comment?
I did test counts, and in light of this conversation, I was on the same page as Ms. Brown that I was going to ask if it was permissible for us to request a said 20-day extension on our review just to see what could potentially develop out of your guys' conversations. So that's our stance.
Okay, thank you. So since that was just requested, what does the timeline look like for us?
So, Madam Chair, I would still like to request something in writing, and not because it's not a matter of distrust, it's a matter of preserving the record for posterity. We all know that when you go back through the record, it's important to have documented evidence of everything we do. So if we're looking at a 20 working day extension, which would be my request, I would like to get the public hearing scheduled for May 7th. And with that, I also want to state publicly that I do have this notice ready to send to MT43 News. I have until noon today to get that off. It will be published in this Friday's edition of the paper.
Okay.
and for a public hearing on May 7th. And again, because I'm not requesting your decision on whether or not I can hold a public hearing, that's simply me as staff. I am scheduling this public hearing.
Okay.
So the public hearing, May 7th, and have counts hang. So I would like to do the public hearing at 10 a.m. And I don't see any reason why we would need to prolong any further discussion of the counts haying cattle beyond that date. So let's see. That's 15 working days from today is May 7th. So if indeed you were to go the 20 working days, that would put it out to May 14th, a deadline for counts haying cattle, a deadline for this governing body to make a decision.
May 14th?
Yes. But I would like to see it on May 7th after the subdivision regulation proposed amendment public hearing. But you would then have an additional week.
Okay. I'm in agreement
That works for
to
me.
that plan. Tess, are you guys able to do something in writing for her?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
That's
Thank you, Madam
kind of
Chair.
it.
Any further discussion on this topic? I think we have a pretty, I feel confident about this path moving forward. Would you like it placed on the agenda for next Wednesday to discuss the road or driveway situation, or would you like to do that all?
That was going to be my
sorry.
question.
Yeah.
Do we just wait and do it all, or do you want to do?
I think we can just wait and do it all at the same time. I don't see any, I mean, there are two variances.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just wait and do it all.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Madam Chair, may I speak?
Yes, please.
Way out of turn.
Sure.
My consideration would be for Mr. and Mrs. Counts, we all work here. And so we're here, we walk across the street anyway, but for them to have to leave their jobs to come here,
Yeah.
I think it would be most beneficial if we could wait until
Yes.
the 7th as
Agreed.
well. So, okay.
Okay. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, Commissioners. I will see you on May 7th.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you. Thank you for the goodies too. Or your granddaughter. Good, thank you. Let's see. All right. Moving on, consent agenda. We only have a couple things. We do not have claims today. First, we have minutes from April 9th commission meeting. If everybody's had a chance to look at those, I will entertain a motion.
I'd move to approve the minutes from April 9th.
I will second that motion.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to approve minutes from April 9th. Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment? Any public comment? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Oh, that's All right, second thing we have is a letter of interest from Denise Thompson to fill the rodeo liaison position with the Broadwater County Fair Board. And I believe, did the Fair Board vote on this?
Mhm.
They did, okay. And they recommended?
Yes.
Denise. Okay, I'm going to read her letter into the record. This is dated March 1st. Please consider this letter my official notice of interest for the open Broadwater County Fair Board position as the rodeo representative and liaison. Ms. Lauren Reiser informed the Board of Directors of the Broadwater County Rodeo and Fair Association, Inc. that she wished to step down from her post and asked if I would be interested in serving in this capacity. This position has always piqued my interest because I understand fully the invaluable partnership between the Rodeo Club and the county and its Fair Board. I was the leader of the Old Baldy 4-H Club for over 20 years, where all 4 of my children were active, successful members. I took my volunteer position very seriously and was honored to serve in such a capacity. Even though I have only officially been a member of the rodeo club for a few years, I have been a part of the organization for my entire life. My grandfather helped start the rodeo, was extremely supportive of the fair and 4-H, and helped ensure all the facilities were top-notch. My father was on the first board of directors for the rodeo club, helped build the arena and indoor roping barn, and has been one of the most influential proponents of the sport of rodeo, both as a competitor and coach. I was raised competing in the sport of rodeo at the local, state, and college and amateur levels, and my husband and I raised our children in the same fashion. This sport is paramount in my life. I have a firm understanding of the ins and outs of the local fair, local and amateur rodeo, and the county 4-H program. Additionally, I believe I take all of that a step further through my passion and drive to see all entities and individuals succeed. After all, at the end of the day, the success and viability of each is what will truly benefit our youth, our community, our state, and hopefully our nation and our world. If we are not looking at the sum of all the parts working together in unison as a team, there will be failures and discord, and the very community we are wanting to help will end up being hurt the most. Like all of you, I take great pride in our local fair and rodeo. I want to see this joint event flourish. I absolutely love this community, the state of Montana, and the Western way of life, and feel it is vital to protect all of it. Thank you for your consideration for the position of the vacant rodeo liaison for Broadwater County Fair Board. I look forward to hearing back from you at your earliest convenience and hope to be working with each of you to help ensure Broadwater County has another great rodeo and fair in August. As you said, the the Fair Board recommended it? Okay.
Yep.
All right. Is there a motion?
I would move to approve the letter from Denise Thompson for the open vacancy on the Fair Board.
Do we know how? Sorry, go ahead. If you're second.
No, I had a question.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Excuse me.
Is Lauren still, is Ms. Reiser still on the rodeo board? Or is she?
I don't know.
Okay.
I have no
Did you
idea.
know? I don't know.
I have no
Okay.
idea.
And is Denise Thompson on the rodeo board?
I don't know that either. I
Okay.
was based on her letter. Let's see.
I just wanted,
I can't find it now.
Yeah, I couldn't
I
find-
thought she
okay.
had said that she'd been there just in the past few years. She'd been on the board. Is what it was saying. So. I was going to ask how long the term is. Sorry. I
yeah,
didn't know.
that was fine.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
We
I
don't
don't
know.
know if they even if it was ever even brought up.
I'm sorry. Daly knows.
Madam Chair, may I
Yes,
speak?
please.
Please.
So Jessica Erickson said that it's 1 year, so
Okay.
she will
Okay.
finish out Ms. Reiser's term.
So she's
For
finishing
the
out
first, for when you're
When you're-
first elected.
Okay.
one. Okay. That was my next question.
Okay. Oh,
Hi.
please come on in. The more the merrier. What do we have?
Jessica Erickson, Fair Board Manager.
Yeah.
I was sorry, I was just listening at my desk while I was doing other things, so I just heard you guys had a few questions. I don't believe Denise is an actual rodeo board member, and I don't believe Lauren ever was either.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
That was,
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Yep. So
Just curious.
I just looked on the website and she's not listed as a director right now.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but that's all I know.
Is
and
that
the term is to
Yeah,
finish
so-
out Lauren's?
So I looked at our bylaws, and it does say if somebody quits, resigns midterm, then they finish out the term. But either way, her term was ending 12/31/2025. Lauren's was.
Oh.
And our bylaws also state that any new member is only put on for a 1-year
Yeah.
term anyway. So
Okay.
whether she's a replacement
Yeah.
or a new person, it would be
The
in
same.
Oh,
2025. And
Okay.
then after that, it could be a 2 or 3 year term.
Okay.
Is
Thank
how our
you.
bylaws read.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you.
There we go.
Okay, so I think you can just say amend your amendment to complete
Yeah.
to fill the remainder of the
Yeah.
term. Yeah. Thank you.
So I will just restate it. I will move to approve the letter of intent for Denise Thompson to fill a 1-year term on the Fair Board for replacing Lauren Reiser.
I will second that motion.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second for Denise Thompson to fill a 1-year term on the Fair Board as the rodeo liaison. Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment? Any public comment? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right. That is all I have. Are there any other announcements or?
I don't have anything.
Mr. Grayley, did you want to just add something just for the fun of it? No? Okay. Nothing else? All right.
Not right now.
Thank you. All right.
Shut
Well,
that camera off and I will.
we will adjourn. 11:40. 20. Geez. Struggle today. Struggle. We're